of students as customers. You've got to provide a great product to get these people to come in here. And if you don't, guess what? You're going to go out of business. And you should, because you're not educating the kids. So I honestly think that competition breeds excellence, breeds efficiency, and you measure the results by where the parents decide to send their kids. And I think once we do that, I think we're going to see our improvement rates turn around. I think we're going to see our achievement rates turn around. I really believe that. Last question. All right, going to double dip the second one.
Yep.
All right.
Why is our legislative session as long as it is? Wouldn't it be possible to pass a 2-year budget and meet only once every other year?
Yeah, and in fact, take your second question first. That's to do with Texas. I mean, Texas, a state that's 15, 20 times as large as we, maybe not that many, but however many times they are. They meet once a year, once every 2 years, and pass a budget, and they're out of there in a couple months. Of course, we can do it if we wanted to. Why is the legislative session as long as it is? I think legislators like getting out of the house in Columbia and going to lobbyist parties. They like hanging out at Five Points and hanging out at the Vista, having a good time. I'd love the legislative session to be shorter. Then I can go back home to Beaufort and make some money. I'm not making any money now because I'm spending half the year up here in Columbia. And there isn't any reason we can't get our work done. I mean, every time we go into legislative session, the first hour is spent on introducing people and introducing the doctor of the day and giving some proclamation and recognizing this high school team. And, it's all great stuff, but is that what you want your legislators sitting up there doing? I mean, if we're sitting down there and we're given a couple months' time and say, okay, pass a budget, take care of 3 or 4 important items, and then get out of town, we could do it. The longer we're up there, the more mischief we can do. And quite frankly, I just think people like hanging out. They like being up there. Anyway. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Stormy Tate. I'm 17, and after school, I want to go to USC on a track scholarship and major in performing arts. What will it take to achieve true transparency in South Carolina government?
Well, I think first of all, we took a great step in terms of having all the votes be on the record, but that's not enough. What we have to do is once we have all that data collected, once we have a record of how your legislators are voting on all issues, it ought to be made very user-friendly for you, the voter, to go online and go to one search field and type in, tort reform, and then type in Tom Davis, and then push send. And every single vote that I've ever cast on lawsuit reform ought to pop up, tell you how I voted, tell you the implications of that vote. We have that technology to make that happen. I mean, it's very easy to make that happen. I mean, if we were a private business, and we didn't provide this product to our consumer already, we'd be bankrupt, okay? Because it's irresponsible not to provide that data. So the next step in transparency has got to be, now that you've got everybody's vote on the record, having that information easily retrievable, making it user-friendly. So you can go to the South Carolina website, see just two search fields, legislator's name, subject matter, press send, and then have it all summarized for you exactly what I voted on, explaining what I did. How easy is that? We could do that today. But we won't. We'd rather have you go online and pour through weeks and weeks of journals and try to figure out where votes are. I mean, if we were responsible to you, the voter, the consumer, we'd be bankrupt by now if we didn't provide the service to you. But you guys got to demand it. We have the technology to do it. So, anyway.
Anyone else? You like one?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm 16 and I want to go to school for college and I want to go. My question is, why are you a Republican?
Because I'm conservative, and typically the Republican Party stood for conservative principles. I would be the first to tell you that a lot of Republicans have disappointed me because a lot of Republicans don't act like conservatives. And what do I mean by conservative? I mean somebody who fundamentally believes that what has made this nation great is its people. Hardworking people, saving money, taking risks, working hard, and then reaping the benefits of their hard work. That is what has made our country great. Too many Republicans now think that, no, that's not what made our country great. We know better. We're going to go out there and decide what corporations get breaks. We're going to decide, who benefits. I mean, and that to me is a conservative. So I consider myself more of a conservative than a Republican. And I am a Republican, but I'm trying to get the Republican Party back to its conservative principles. And let me tell you, I think they got like 2 or 4 more years to get their act together. Because if they don't stop acting like a big government interfering in people's lives type of party, they're going to lose conservatives like me. And they're going to lose popularity in polls. So I became a Republican, I'm a Republican because they stood historically for conservative things. If they don't change, I'll have to revisit that decision. Ma'am?
I'm Kyla, I'm 15, and I want to go to school to be a neonatologist. Do you think the Budget and Control Board should be abolished, and how can we make it more responsive?
Yes, I do think it should be abolished. I mean, we're the only state in the country that has a budget control board. I mean, you're all familiar, I'm sure, with three branches of government that we have. We've got the legislative branch that makes the laws, the executive branch that executes those laws, and then the judicial branch, if there is a dispute over what a law means, then they decide, they interpret it. What we have in South Carolina is a legislative branch that not only makes the laws, it elects and controls the judges. One of the only states in the country that elects the judges, so it controls the judicial branch. And then through the Budget Control Board, it actually controls most of the execution of our laws. And so we don't have three branches, each checking and balancing each other. We have a legislatively dominated state. You've heard South Carolina called the legislative state. It's because the legislature controls really the judicial branch and the executive branch, and they control the executive branch through the Budget Control Board. And so instead of the governor being responsible for executing those laws, you've got the General Assembly and the legislature in there monkeying around with it. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you don't have an executive executing the laws and looking out for the interests of the state as a whole, and deciding how to take the limited amount of money we have and allocating it best, you've got what's called localism. I mean, with the legislature, everybody wants to take a piece of the carcass and bring it back to their own corner of the state. So we've got four-year colleges all over the state. We've got more miles of road per capita than any other state in the nation because we love building roads. Building roads helps politicians get reelected. So we've got roads everywhere. I mean, so instead of having a strong executive branch that says, okay, these are the dollars we have, this is the most rational way we can allocate them, we've got a legislature that's involved in executing the laws, and so you've got what's called localism. You've got this fractured thing where everybody gets a little piece of the carcass, and, there's a reason why we're last in so many categories in this nation. It's not because we're not as smart as other people. We have a government structure that fails us. It doesn't deliver the services that other states' governments do. And the Budget Control Board is an excellent example of a legislature interfering in the executive branch, and those are the policy results of that.
We have one more question.
Then I got to go back and decide how your money's spent. Go ahead.
My name is Tanisha, I'm 15, and when I get out of high school, I'm going to school for cosmetology. And we are citizen watchdog reporters for the Nerve. And what do you think of Ashley Landis?
Ashley Landis is one of my best friends. I'm a member of the South Carolina Policy Council. She and I go throughout the state spreading the conservative gospel. I think the Nerve has done a tremendous service to the people of South Carolina in trying to involve individuals, citizen reporters, in what the government is doing on their behalf. I mean, I think that for so long, I think people just assumed that they were they were looking out for your best interests up there. And the realization is, a lot of times they're not. And so what the Nerve has done, and what the Policy Council has done, and what Ashley Landis has done, is awaken people to the fact that decisions are being made that really don't benefit you a lot of the time, and the only way that's going to change is for you to be aware of what they do and then have your voice heard. So thanks for doing that. I think it's wonderful. And thank you for inviting me to your class.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it. It's everything I thought it would be.
Thank you.